The story begins with Young agreeing to marry Ren. Just as he starts placing the ring on her finger, the driver's son bursts in, revealing Mr. Joe's true identity. Shocked, Young turns to Ren and asks if his grandfather is responsible for her mother's death. Confused, Ren doesn't understand what's happening. Distressed, Young throws aside her bouquet and veil before storming out. Outside, Lion is waiting, and she asks him to take her away. Meanwhile, Jae-in attacks Ren, and everyone rushes to separate them. Jae-in urges Ren to ask his grandfather for the truth at home. Young breaks down in tears, and Lion tries to comfort her, reminding her that they are still investigating the incident and that Ren might not be involved in his grandfather's actions. However, Young continues to cry while holding a picture of her mother. Ren confronts his grandfather, demanding to know if the accusations are true. His grandfather remains silent. Suddenly, the police arrive. Elsewhere, Young's father goes to talk to her, trying to calm her down. She assures him she will be okay. The next day, Ren visits Young, but she refuses to open the door. He tells her that his grandfather's mistake is not his own and that he knew nothing about it. He insists that his feelings for her are real. However, Young responds that in the end, he is still his grandfather's grandson, and this issue will always stand between them. She tells him she will never be able to forget what happened. Ren sinks to the ground in tears, begging her not to leave him. She also cries but remains silent. Later, he returns home, lost in memories of their time together, overwhelmed with sadness. At work, Ren struggles, obsessively spraying sanitizer around his office. Eventually, he decides to go home to rest, but he collapses. Meanwhile, at Young's home, her brother brings her food. They eat together, and her brother gently tells her not to pressure herself to appear okay. Overwhelmed, Young starts crying, and he comforts her, assuring her that he is always there for her. Later, Kim goes to Young's house to inform her of his condition, but her father confronts him, angrily throwing away his gift and ordering him never to come back. As Kim walks away and a group of men ambush him. However, Lion spots the attack and quickly intervenes, forcing them to flee. Lion then helps Kim and tends to his wounds. Meanwhile, Ren's mother visits and is shocked to find Ren compulsively sanitizing everything. Seeing how much he has deteriorated, she breaks down in tears for him. The next day, Ren arrives at the company only to discover that Young has sent her resignation via email. Lion visits him and advises him to follow his treatment plan, promising that he will arrange a meeting between him and Young. Ren reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Sel visits Kim's house and notices the bruises on his face despite his attempts to hide them. Concerned, she applies ointment to his injuries. That evening, Young stands at an amusement park, lost in memories of her time with Ren. Suddenly, she hears his voice calling out to her. She turns to face him and tells him that Lion said he needed to talk urgently, so he should get straight to the point. Ren pleads with her not to quit her job, reminding her of how much she loves her work and how talented she is. He urges her not to let anything stand in the way of her dreams. Touched by his words, Young thanks him and starts crying. Gently, Ren wipes away her tears, telling her that he doesn't want to see her sad or crying because it makes him sad too. The next day, Ren goes to the company to gather his belongings. Before leaving, he instructs Kim, Jian, Sean, and the manager to take over in his absence, as he has something important to do. Later, Young returns to the company and begins assisting them. Meanwhile, Ren's condition worsens at home, causing his mother great concern. Lion tries to reassure her, but Kim informs Sean about Ren's declining state. Sean then shares the update with Young, explaining that Ren has been functioning like a machine, sleeping only 3 hours a night. At the care home, Sel helps take care of Kim's grandmother while Kim sits with them. The doctor reassures them about her condition, but later pulls Kim aside to inform him that the care home will be sold by the end of the month, urging him to make arrangements for his grandmother. Later, when Young learns that Ren is not home, she takes the opportunity to visit his house. She cleans, prepares food for him, and leaves medical tape in the bathroom, knowing that he scrubs his hands too hard and injures them. She also places her teddy bear on the couch, just as it used to be at Mr. Joe's house. Meanwhile, Mr. Joe asks his daughter about Ren's condition. She tells him that, due to the high doses of medication, Ren isn't eating or sleeping well and is currently in the hospital, where doctors are working to gradually reduce his medication. She begs her father to clarify the situation to Ren, but he refuses, stating that doing so would damage the reputation of both companies, making them vulnerable to their competitors. That night, Ren returns home to find the house spotless. Realizing that Young had been there, he feels a wave of emotions. He takes his medication, places her teddy bear beside him, and finally gets some sleep. The next day, when Young returns to the company, she learns that Mr. Joe is personally reviewing their work and is especially dissatisfied with her department. Meanwhile, Kim informs them that the care home where his grandmother stays will soon be sold. Hearing this, Jan suggests that Young take on the task of finding a suitable place and setting up a care room. They visit the care home to assess the situation. Kim shares Ren's idea with him, which he likes, but he mentions that the board of directors remains unconvinced. Ren tells him that winning the Best Project award could change their minds and urges them to work hard for it. At the company, Young tries to find a solution and imagines Ren sitting in front of her, helping her through the process. A few days later, Young presents her idea to investors at the competition, and they respond positively. Suddenly, she spots Ren in the crowd and excuses herself to go see him. In her rush, she almost crosses the street recklessly, but Ren catches her just in time. He tells her that he has been watching her, observing how she handles things. Ren saw how well she managed the meeting, and that's exactly what he wants, to see her happy and achieving her dreams. Young responds that just as he wants her to be happy, she also wants him to be happy, get treatment, and recover. As she turns to leave, she notices him following her. When she asks why, he simply says he's heading in the same direction and continues walking behind her until she reaches her home. Ren then spends 2 days at home without going to the hospital. Lyon visits him, bringing his medication, but is alarmed to see Ren's hands covered in wounds. Ren tells him that he no longer cares about the medication because he knows his condition worsens when he's away from Young. He won't find peace until he gets justice for her mother. He has lost before, but this time he must win. Lyon promises to help him uncover the truth and assures him that he won't leave his side. They meet the chauffeur's son, who claims to know nothing and says he only heard about the incident from his father. However, he suspects his father is hiding something. Determined to get answers, Ren and Lyon decide to visit the chauffeur's mother's address. The area is filthy, which affects Ren, but he presses on, asking for directions. By accident, a woman splashes water on him. Lyon quickly helps him wipe it off, but Ren takes the tissue himself and thanks him. When they ask the woman about the address, she unexpectedly reveals that she is the chauffeur's wife and invites them inside for a drink. However, Ren starts feeling unwell and steps outside, where Lyon hands him his medication. After taking it, he starts to feel better and insists on going back inside, but Lyon firmly suggests they return another time, when Ren is in better health. Young anxiously awaits the results of the venture capital competition they entered this year. At first, they think they didn't win, but soon they learn they secured first place. Overjoyed, they celebrate their victory. The head of the manual cleaning department calls Mr. Joe to inform him of their success, but he remains indifferent. He dismisses the achievement, stating they shouldn't participate in such competitions next year because they are pointless. The manager, however, explains that the recognition will greatly benefit the company, increasing media attention and enhancing its reputation. It will also aid in their ongoing project. When Mr. Joe asks who is leading the project and hears Young's name, he abruptly hangs up. Disheartened, Young walks away, lost in thought. She finds herself remembering Ren, imagining his presence, his care, and realizes just how much she misses him. Meanwhile, Ren visits the chauffeur's wife again and finds her at work. He offers to help, but she questions why he's even there, knowing the area is unsuitable for someone from the Joe family. Ren asks her about the incident, but she tells him to leave, insisting she knows nothing. Refusing to back down, Ren follows her and reveals that her son constantly threatens Mr. Joe. This revelation upsets the mother. She finally admits that her husband was responsible for the accident, but Mr. Joe encouraged him to surrender in exchange for a reduced penalty. They needed money at the time, and Mr. Joe supported them financially. However, her son squandered the money and now threatens Mr. Joe for more. Overcome with emotion, she begins to cry. Ren gently comforts her and asks for her help in uncovering the full truth. Moved by his sincerity, she agrees. Back at the company, Young celebrates with her friends. In the midst of the festivities, she receives a video message from Ren. After watching it, she rushes to find him, calling out his name through her tears. The moment Ren appears, they run to each other and embrace. But Ren suddenly collapses in Young's arms. At the hospital, she stays by his side, holding his hand. His mother and Lyon arrive, anxiously asking about his condition. Young explains that he overdosed on his medication. Lyon, concerned, asks why Ren was even in that area. Young explains that he was searching for the truth, trying to get justice for her mother. That night, Ren finally wakes up to find Young beside him. He weakly asks her to hold him. Overcome with guilt, she apologizes for blaming him when he was innocent. Ren gently wipes away her tears and asks, "Can I have another chance to take care of you again?" Through her tears, Young smiles and nods. The next day, she visits Ren's grandfather. She tells him that the doctor informed them that Ren's illness stems from childhood trauma, which was worsened by his strict upbringing. She urges the old man to mend his relationship with Ren before it's too late. The grandfather insists that he was only strict for Ren's own good. Young acknowledges that Ren has achieved great things and excelled academically, just as his grandfather expected. But now, she tells him, it's time to focus on his well-being. Later, Young visits Ren's house with a bouquet of flowers. She explains that they're from Jayen and Sean, and that everyone is waiting for him to recover. She places the flowers in a vase and asks what he wants for his upcoming birthday. Ren quietly responds that he doesn't like celebrating his birthday. Instead, he says, "Having you by my side is enough." Meanwhile, at Mi's house, she is working while Jayen studies. When he steps into the bathroom, she notices something on his laptop, information about a student exchange program. When he returns, she asks if he's planning to go abroad. Jayen admits that his teacher recommended him for the program, but he plans to decline. Though saddened by the thought of him leaving, she encourages him not to refuse. She tells him it's a great opportunity and assures him that she, his sister, and their father will support his decision. Later, we see Young and Ren standing outside his grandfather's house. Ren hesitates, recalling painful childhood memories, but Young gently encourages him to go inside. Inside, they find that his mother has prepared his favorite food. His grandfather soon joins them. Though Ren is nervous, Young stays by his side, offering silent support. Overcome with emotion, his mother cries and apologizes for not being there for him, promising to make amends. His mother goes to fetch his favorite noodles and asks Young to help in the kitchen. As they eat, his grandfather unexpectedly asks when he plans to return to work. Ren responds, "Soon." His grandfather expresses surprise at how well the company has performed in Ren's absence, saying that the employees have proven themselves capable. He encourages Ren to return when he's ready. Then Ren's grandfather leads him to his office and shows him a box of gifts he had bought over the years but never gave to Ren. "They were just cluttering up the house," his grandfather says gruffly, but Ren sees through his words. He is delighted to realize that his grandfather had thought of him all those years, even if he never showed it. They sit together and eat, and for the first time, Ren truly feels cared for. He is happy. Meanwhile, Young visits Mr. Joe, who apologizes for initially rejecting her. He acknowledges that she proved herself and, more importantly, stood by his grandson through everything. Young responds that she understands. He only did what he thought was best for Ren. At the same time, Mi helps John prepare for his student exchange interview, practicing questions with him. When she asks if he would stay abroad if he liked it there, he reassures her, "I would come back for you. I could never leave you behind." Next, we see Saul taking Kim to an archery club party. Kim hesitantly asks if there are journalists inside. Saul smiles and responds, "I don't care about anyone else, just you." Inside, she publicly confesses her love for him. Ren takes Young to her house to reconcile with her father. When they arrive, they find Mr. Joe already there, apologizing for his past remarks. After he leaves, Young and Ren go inside and sit with Young's father and brother. Ren formally asks for their permission to be with Young. Her father and brother give their blessing, advising him to take good care of her. Young's father is emotional, happy that his daughter has found true love. They spend the day together, and as evening falls, Young and Ren sit down for a meal with her family. During dinner, Young's father insists that she should also get married soon and jokingly suggests that Lyon would be a good match for her. This annoys John, who finally confesses his love for Young, making his feelings clear. After dinner, Young takes Ren aside, asking him to close his eyes and count to 4. When he opens them, he finds the place beautifully decorated with the gifts he had given her. along with a cake. She tells him to make a wish, and Ren is deeply touched by her thoughtfulness. The next day, Ren returns to work and is approached by a colleague who wishes to resign. Ren asks if something is wrong, but the colleague explains that he has learned a lot and now wants to start his own business. Ren supports his decision but asks him to stay and complete the retirement home project first. That night, Ren meets Leon to thank him for his support and asks him to look after Young. The next morning, Young visits Leon and learns that he is returning to America. However, he tells her that he will always keep his door open for her. She thanks him for everything he has done and wishes him happiness. The following day, Ren asks Young to meet him at a specific location for work. When she arrives, she sees a hot air balloon and assumes she needs to clean it. A man dressed similarly to her approaches and they work together. Suddenly, the balloon takes off and she realizes that the man is Ren. As they float high above the ground, Ren pulls out a ring, kneels, and proposes to her once again. Overwhelmed with joy, Young accepts and they embrace, ready to start their new life together. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more content like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications and give us a thumbs up to support the channel. Thanks for watching.